Hello everyone, welcome back, and I'm here to be talking about my top 10 favorite movies. Now this is, I could say a series that I'm doing right now about talking about my top 10 favorite, specific stuff. Like last time I talked about my top 10 favorite video games. I had a lot of fun, going down nostalgia lane about games that I loved growing up and games that are just phenomenal and floored me and great stuff. And here, now this is one of the hardest lists I've made for my channel because obviously a big movie fan and I love tons of movies, and there are just so many great ones out there that to just fit them into 10, even with some honorable mentions, it's just really difficult. And just know that when I say the list now, my opinion could change any day or any week or whenever, because all these movies are so close to each other in quality, and I just had to put them in a list. So what you see in this video now, maybe a few months or whatever down the line, will be different in my opinion. So with all that said, here is my list for my top 10 favorite movies. Now, it's gonna be kind of funny, but at number 10 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, yes, it's at the very bottom, and this is my favorite superhero film of all time. And there's a lot of reasons why. I know a lot of people say it's trash or it's not as good as the first one. It's not even one of the top tier Marvel Studio movies, the MCU movies. But I don't know, this movie really struck a chord with me when I saw it. I saw it over 5 times, or about 5 times in theaters, which is saying something because I don't see a movie that much in theaters. And most I would usually go to see movies 2 or 3 times in theaters, let alone 5. I just, it was just another Marvel movie, but it's one of those movies I could watch consistently on repeat. There's barely any flaws I feel with it, except maybe some stuff in the opening. But once the title card pops up, from then on it was amazing. I loved everything about it. I loved the stuff they did with Star-Lord and his dad. I love the little side adventure with Rocket and Yondu. I love how Yondu's given so much more character and development, and the messages that they have in the film. Plus the soundtrack is amazing and it looks great. It's just such a fun, good time at the movies. And I know maybe it shouldn't be on my top 10, but I just felt like putting a Marvel movie on there, and this one was easily my favorite. At number 9, now the 90s, you'll see a lot of movies from the 1990s on this list because I think the 90s was maybe the best decade in film, and this film is no exception. Number 9 is Forrest Gump. Now, everyone says it's, trash now and say it shouldn't have won the awards it won. It should have been Shawshank or Pulp Fiction. To a degree, I agree, but to downgrade this film's quality is kind of unfair because this was a really great movie, and it was easily Tom Hanks, one of his best roles. And it's such it's such a simple film, but yet there's so much wholeness and heart to it that I just really love it. It's one of those films that really encapsulates the time. I know it's a 90s movie, but it takes place throughout, the 50s, 60s, 70s, etc. It encapsulates each era so well, and the performances are really great, and it's such a nice and yet sad movie at the same time. Number 8, Pulp Fiction. Now this is easily Quentin Tarantino. Everyone says it's his best film and one of the best films ever made. I agree. I love some of his other films like Inglourious Basterds or Django Unchained or Kill Bill, but this one, just how unique and just interesting it is because there's 5 or 6 different plot points, and the film, how it's told, is told out of order. There's just random, on paper that seems like it wouldn't work, but here it's done so well because the actors and the material that is being given with the film works so well, so that from start to finish, it's pretty fantastic. I don't think there's any flaws with this movie. And just, there's so many iconic and quotable stuff that came from this movie that a lot of people know, and they're like, oh, it's from that movie? Never seen that movie. And it's just a blast to watch. It's really unpredictable, and it was pretty it's a really funny movie too. It's dark comedy in a way because it's really mature in some aspects, and it's really funny as well. So it's a great movie. Number seven, probably the best movie that came out that year because Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, and this movie were all nominated for Best Picture in the same year. So that was a pretty fantastic year for movies. This is the Shawshank Redemption. Now, this movie is a Stephen King adaptation, and it like when it initially released, not a lot of people saw it. I mean, it got really great word of mouth and reviews and all, but it was I think it was a box office bomb actually. But once it got the critical praise and on DVD and streaming, it became a really big success. And it's like it's such a really sad movie because it's about this guy who you find out is framed for murder, and he's just stuck in jail for like decades, and it's about his initial eventual escape and all, and like trying to find hope and like the humanity and being trapped in jail. But he meets a lot of friends along the way, and it's like this little community. And what the film says, like how when like if you're in jail for so long and you eventually get released and you're not used to the outside world, you're kind of like broken, like you don't know how to live and be on your own. And it's really interesting themes that they tackle there. And of course the corruptness with the guards that oversee the jail and stuff. Like there's this really a lot of interesting themes in this movie. And of course, like the score is phenomenal. It's really well directed, well acted. Like it's one of those landmark films, I'd say. And it's truly a powerful movie. I thought it was phenomenal. I watch it at least maybe once a year because it's really good. Number six, Titanic. Now, growing up, I loved the Titanic. I was fascinated with the history, and I was really like I would read all the books. I even went to the museum in Tennessee at one point, but I don't know why I was so interested with it. I think it's because on how everyone was saying, it won't sink and the unsinkable ship and all that stuff, and it did. And I just thought that was just the ship. It looked phenomenal. It's a gorgeous ship, and it just like I was really interested in seeing how the layout was, and just how it really like how it was for the times. Like it was really fascinating to me. So of course a movie about it would get me interested, but I mean I'm not usually into romance type movies, but here I thought it was done really effectively. How it you see the before, the current about the tragedy with the ship, and then the aftermath. Like how this whole film is done is excellent, and it's over 3 hours, and I wasn't uninterested throughout specific parts. Like it just kept me fascinated throughout the whole movie. Like I gotta say, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet as the two main characters, great work. They definitely like carry the movie in a lot of aspects because it's just them, and it's really like it goes from like a romance to to like an adventure trying to survive the sinking ship, and then a tragedy at the end. Like it's so many different genres, rolled into one. It's really great. Like I deserved everything it won, and I love the movie dearly, and it's one of the best films, as you see. Now, number five, this is one of the ones that everyone will probably be like, really, you're putting this on the list? But come on, if you guys have seen my channel, you should know this by now. It's Utopia. Now, I wasn't going to put it higher because, I mean, I love this movie and I owe a lot to this movie for me even, being here and doing my channel and all that. Because, like, this movie was a really, like, seeing this movie helped me meet, the right people and give me the inspiration to talk about movies and all. And I know it's not, like, the best movie of all time, or it probably shouldn't even be in the top 10, but just on that alone, and plus, it's a really well done animated movie from Disney, and I really had a great time watching it. I think it still holds up to this day, and the voice work is great. Again, animation really great. The story, it's a nice little mystery in there. The themes and messages it delves into still are relevant, and I really like. Of course, the song in it as well. I usually are fine with them, but this one in particular I really like, and it's just a great little movie. I mean, what can I say? I love it. It's great. At number 4 is Good Will Hunting. Now this movie really, it's just one of those movies like you watch and you don't really forget about. Now I saw it a few years back for the first time, and I've watched it from now and then, but it's really like it's such a well done movie because I think this was Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. This was like their first movie per se, and they wrote the screenplay and stuff. So that's really cool. And of course, you have Robin Williams in it, probably given his best performance ever. And like how this like the story and how it's about this really incredibly genius I'd say 20-year-old or something, like in his 20s, who um, is like he doesn't want to like advance to like the highs in life, and he's just fine just being down below, just doing minimal like work like construction or something, like just instead of like because he has the intellect and all to do great things, but he just doesn't want to. So after getting into a scuffle with the police, he was sought out by a professor that saw him do this phenomenal like equation, like he solved it instantly and all, and he sought out by him to go see that dude's old friend who was a therapist and Robin Williams to try to get into the psyche of this guy and like what's up, because he's been through a lot of traumatic stuff in the past. Like just how this whole film is, it isn't like your typical like big film or anything. It's just like a small character film, and I don't know. It was really good, and it was really powerful. There's lots of great moments in it, and again, it's one of those films that really stuck with me, and I just think it's great. It's That's gonna be the motto here. Everything's great on this list, pretty much. At number 3, again, another film that a lot of people wouldn't mention or anything, but Saving Mr. Banks. Now, ever since I saw this movie, it stuck with me. Like ever since I saw it in theaters, and I think the main thing I love about this movie is not only the performances and how well done the time setting of the '60s is, but how it's about making of a Disney movie, and it's one of the last ones that Walt Disney, worked on or made before he sadly passed away, and it's just interesting to see how he and the author P.L. Travers, who wrote the story of Mary Poppins and all, how they were collaborating and how they fought and all with the Sherman brothers and everyone, how they all tried to get this movie made, and how Walt wanted it, everything like his way and exactly how he wanted it, and how he was like it was really shady stuff that was going on. At least how the movie portrays. Probably not everything is 100% accurate, but it's just I really like this type of movies that show you behind the scenes on how stuff is made, and this movie does it really well. And even the flashbacks, like trying to show the early days of the author, are really well done. The music is really great, and the movie can be really depressing at times. Like it's I'm not gonna lie to you there. It can be really sad, and I'm really impressed because this is a Disney movie, and they weren't afraid to show some stuff that wouldn't make the company look that good, especially like about back then and all. So I was really impressed, and I just thought it was a really great movie. It should have deserved more money. It should have got more award nominations and stuff. I thought it was a truly great movie from Disney. It's probably one of their best movies, in all honesty, which is saying a lot because they made a lot of great movies. Now, number 2 is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It's funny, I keep like thinking about what should I put for like the top spots and all, but upon rewatching it, like this is, in my opinion, it's Steven Spielberg's best movie ever made, and he's one of my favorite directors. And what makes this so great is like it's the third in a trilogy, and everyone trashes on King of Crystal Skull, and I honestly don't hate that movie. And the first two are really good. The first one in particular like is really groundbreaking, and what it did for like like blockbuster filmmaking, and how it got a lot of awards. And like back then, like the Oscars were actually good when they nominate the movies are, I think, deserve it. It's kind of a stupid mindset, but whatever. But this movie in particular, how it wraps up that trilogy, that original trilogy, and what the artifact they're going after for, the Holy Grail, is so fascinating. And a lot of action sequences, like the boat chase, the tank scene, the airplane fight. Like there's so many great action set pieces. And of course, like the father-son relationship between Indiana Jones and his dad is really well done stuff. Even the opening scene where you see Indy as a kid and how that wasn't just like for filler. Like they had that to set up, an item that he would later come across, a bit later in the movie and stuff. Like the movie's really well thought out, well made, well acted. The score, I am not gonna lie, I almost cry when I hear it. The finale score at the end of the movie. It's really beautiful stuff, and it's really nostalgic. This movie really is nostalgic because I would watch this series a lot, and this one in particular really gets me. I think it's cinematic excellence per se. It's a phenomenal movie. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Alright guys, so before I get to number one, like I said, I wanted to have a few honorable mentions. I'm not going to have that many because I don't want this video being that long, but I'll just get right into it. Of course, I had to put this Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Now, I lumped them both together because it's basically one big story, and I really wanted to mention both movies quickly. But Infinity War, like I've reviewed both of these movies, they both broke me emotionally. And they made me happy, and I loved every minute of both these movies. And just what they were able to accomplish on this scale has never been done before, and you have to appreciate it. And it's really a decade of storytelling, over a decade for some of them. It's excellent stuff. Jurassic Park. Now, I like another Spielberg movie that's phenomenal, but what made me really love this movie is like not only is like based off the novel and all that, but like it's like so much wonder and like a possibility and like what if they were to like bring back dinosaurs and stuff. And it's just like one of those movies like you can't turn off once it starts. Like every part of it is just so fascinating, and the score is great, and the characters and the idea of that world is so cool. Back to the Future. Of course, one of the bigger movies from the 80s, and honestly, it's like a whole ton of fun. Now, I know a lot of these movies now be referenced are movies that a lot of people talk about, and there isn't really that much for me to say about a lot of these movies, so I do apologize, but like, I mean, they're being talked about for a reason. They're just great movies. And like the dynamic between like Doc and Marty, and how like yes, he ends up traveling back and he has to try to get back to his reality, his time and stuff. Like it's really cool stuff, really interesting stuff that happens in this movie. This movie wouldn't have the context it has today if it was made today, that's for sure, because some interesting stuff happens in this movie to say. But yeah, Saving Private Ryan. Like probably one of the best war films ever made. It's really dramatic. It's really graphic. It really realizes the situation on what happened, and it's such a human plot because these soldiers are literally risking their lives to save another soldier because all the brothers of that soldier died, and so it's just him left, and they're trying to get him home. But at the same time, he doesn't want to leave because he feels like it's unfair to leave his fellow comrades in an upcoming battle. So like it's lots of interesting conflicts going on, and like it's like a really hard fought, really depressing journey. It's just such a emotional film. Like it's one of his more Steven Spielberg's more like mature films, like Schindler's List. Maybe not on the same level as Schindler's List, but it's up there with like whew. And The Dark Knight. Of course, I had to reference The Dark Knight on this list. Like that movie, what it did for comic book movies, and how it really like that, along with Iron Man in 2008, really centered in a new age of superhero movies in a good way. And it's like so many iconic moments, well done performance from Heath Ledger as Joker, and just like there isn't really that much more to say, like I've been saying, but a truly powerful film in the superhero genre. Now, of course, for number one, and I know a lot of people that are upset with this franchise and all is gonna be like, really, you're putting this movie as number one, but we shouldn't let the other movies in the franchise downgrade this movie, because this movie really stands up above the rest, in my opinion, and that is Star Wars Episode 5: The Empire Strikes Back. Now, for years, I would say that I would think this was the best movie, but I'd really think about it as to why. And like, there were so many great movies. Any of these movies could have been number one, really. So, what makes this one the best? Well, I mean, a lot of these choices on my list were obviously nostalgia picks, because I watched a lot of these growing up, and they just really click and stick with me. Like, I really have an attachment to a lot of these movies. And this one, like, it's like the definition of a perfect sequel. It adds stakes, it's more dramatic, it takes the characters on a more mature journey. There's better score, better fight sequences, more expansion of the lore that the universe was setting up in the first, how the film was introduced, and more shocking, iconic moments in the overall series that and I love Star Wars to death. It's just, recently I'm kind of disappointed, but this movie really is all that good, for sure. It stands the test of time. People still watch it and talk about it decades later, and people are still like, oh my goodness, and like having such a great time. And it really is the best film ever. So I know this video was cringy and rambled and all that sorts of stuff, but I really do appreciate you guys watching it, and thank you all so much. But if you guys have any of your favorite films that you want to list in the comments down below, that'll be pretty great. And if you want to hit the subscribe button, that'll be pretty awesome as well, and hit the bell as well to get notified when I upload. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video, which, by the way, should be, I think I'll do it. I'll do a top 10 favorite TV shows, to continue on this video game movie show trend. And then also, I don't know which will come first, the show video or Umbrella Academy Season 2 review, because that's also coming out soon, and I'm definitely going to watch that for sure. I'm so excited. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.